Thanks. Well, that's good. Yeah, one person. Yeah, one person what? We're not doing work. Oh, I did.
I never turn my phone on. Just keep it muted in my chair.
Right. So it's not like, right, that's right, you're right into negotiations. We don't hear this now, and that's easy. I promise I won't. It's classic.
Finance board.
Yes.
Carol Kitty died.
Yes, we can. I think that's a great idea.
Is that a
Now we can just put on the.
bargain?
Ice cream bar. I do like the ice cream bar idea.
Where's the sticky bone?
We should just get an ice cream truck.
I know that song.
I heard I mean, oh, they were definitely.
That it was here. So I didn't get it.
Limbo.
Yeah, it's not.
Don't worry.
No, I was just trying to figure, so did you get an email from Nancy or the one from Lindsay? Like last I heard, the bargaining was over at the district.
Yeah, because I got out of school today.
Because we met here, so should have, we met over, no, we met over there, so when, I don't know. I guess I-
26 absent.
Okay.
Came from.
Two 26 this afternoon, all I got was your time.
I got one from Lindsay, but I'm not getting emails from.
I got the PCTA rollout. 226 is that your girl with the link. Well, that's something we did. I just doesn't want to.
So what, Wally, you're not getting the regular PCTA
Well, I
emails?
didn't get red housing, anything from red houses.
Well, Red House went out like, but you never got it, you never day of?
Never got from me. And then I never got it. Lonnie, I sure. I found out.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I have, With me, and actually I wrote Paula and said, where are we?
Last thing I got was the Google Calendar. It's 4:30.
That's what they tell me.
So. I don't think it's on here. For some reason, I have a lot of old TV shows running through my head right now.
Was like after SNL, after, I don't know, I may be wrong, but it seems like I've seen it.
What?
Showtime. But to be honest, I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
There's stuff on the- there's stuff that people have-
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah. They had lots of good information.
Paula, do you know who, These student loan forgiveness forms, do you know which department we go to get HR, it's on HR? Yeah.
Oh, so really good to go.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's CNN.
And then I'm telling them.
I really do.
No, this is.
No, like they were, I mean, they were just doing
I
it.
don't know.
And show
I don't know
why.
politics. No, I took out everything.
That's Looks like you're giving yourself some.
And then I did my.
Ginger texted, she said she's gonna be.
No, you can make on through different services. That's the problem. We started with the line company we had on the Or there's that information.
They like shit.
Yeah, and see, because this is. Yeah.
Thank you.
They sold. Oh, yeah. Oh, they did get it?
Now. Just gonna die this fight.
He's gonna be terrible. No, I'm not. I have to do it. I have to.
Yeah, this morning.
Because I
Minutes about that. That's just something.
They get out.
Years ago. Once my cousin started.
Terrible.
Yeah, but, well. it doesn't look like anyone else is- is a new research or now students are- yeah.
Afternoon, everybody. We are just, we know that, maybe one or two more members of our bargaining team were delayed, so they're gonna be coming in when they're, as they're able. Thought we would go ahead and get rolling if y'all are set.
We're set, so we're ready to go ahead and start.
Okay, so we'll sign
Right, yeah, I've got the sign-in sheet going around, we'll get back over to Dina. Yeah. So we do have, so I know the last time we met, we had received, your proposal of 8.05%. I know the language in there was increase each annual instructional salary by 8.05%. And that we further agree to continue negotiation of the allocation of said increase as well as any other compensation and contractual items mutually agreed. So we are rejecting that proposal. We are sending around our counter proposal to you. Just to reiterate, we are restating that we have 18.4 million for all bargaining groups. The proposals that have been presented by PCTA, the last one was approximately, and this is a very approximate of 33 million, which is close to double what we have available than just for PCTA, not considering the other 3 bargaining units. However, we have gone back as requested to reevaluate our offer, and that is what is being sent around at this time. So our counter proposal that is going around ranges between 6.21 and 7.42% total compensation increase, which includes an average salary increase of 4%, which is almost $14 million, 100% board contribution to healthcare. Another one, that's a 1% increase, about 3.5 million. We have the 2 days of paid planning that are included this year. So another 1.21%, just over 4 million. We have 2 days of paid planning for our ESE on top of that 2 days of paid planning, just under 700,000. We also notice, if you'll notice on the 3rd page, the we call it the green table, right? Just because we've got green highlighted. Have additional funds that are available for increase to the advanced degree supplement and or the academic athletic fine arts. And so there's a $220,000 amount there. Again, the increase is between 6.21 and 7.42%, depending on the ESE, which equates to just over $22 million. However, we understand, we know that our agreement was some of that was the 2 days of planning was out of ESSER Part funds, as they are in place for this year and next year. So the recurring is just over 17 million. So the proposal that we are presenting today is higher than most districts in the state that who have settled. We feel it is a generous recurring increase to our employees. We have put this proposal together with the intention of paying our employees as much as possible while also remaining fiscally responsible with the funds provided to us by the taxpayers of Pinellas County as well as federal funds. I will also point out that this is well above the guidance of Mr. Smith, our CFO, who has been working very hard to look at the numbers and look as has requested and by both sides. We have been requested to go back and look and increase our proposal. So that is what we are presenting to you today. We do have it in our MOU. I think each step I did just go over. And also you'll see on the breakdown of Appendix A, lists out the grandfather, the performance for both highly effective and effective, the supplement in there as well.
Which would put our new starting salary at 50,481. So I know this is some information. I would expect you all would like to caucus and have a discussion. And we can give you that time to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Are y'all okay with my numbers?
Oh,
It should be much more clear today.
don't worry.
I think we got most of that.
We're able to
stuff
give
out.
away most of the books and
That is good to hear.
Always set. Like a lot of ones. It's always been true.
All right, we're unmuted and we're live.
High school. Rains on me every time I go down there. Did you?
Alright.
Right when they go. Yeah. Did you find it? Are you looking at the hearings? Yeah. No, I did too. I didn't like. I wasn't in there.
I'm gonna, I will need a list. Paula, I will need a list for all the electronic programs that you guys use. Yeah, because we're asking for cost out, we need to know what we're asking for. Say all. It's all. I think we're back, we're up and running.
Yes, we are.
All right, so we were looking through this, and we have a couple of questions. On the page with the green, where it's priced out, what does that mean at the bottom, proposed starting salary? What does that mean?
So that is, as you know, I think we shared a couple times ago that it is, and we've actually had some further conversations. It is the superintendent's wish and intention and the board's intention to continue to raise that beginning teacher salary in order to be competitive with our neighboring districts. And so again, we had that on here a couple times ago when we presented that. And probably having some further discussions on that moving forward, but.
So I'm just
you know,
confused as to why that's separate. If we say no to that, the beginning salary would be 54.81, correct?
Correct.
So
Yes.
that's where to look. As much as
Right.
we understand the interest that has been the interest here for the past 10 years is focusing solely on that opening salary. It ain't working. Get the news.
No,
I
okay.
mean,
and
it's
again,
not-
we're
it's
just
not
proposing
working.
You can have, and again.
They're
it's
coming
fine,
in and then they're going out.
And we
Bringing
hear you say
in
that.
people, if you're concerned, and I know Kevin's concerned, not this Kevin, Hendrick, the superintendent's concern is the referendum, the fact that we really don't meet the requirement of the law.
Well,
for
we
the-
had that
for
discussion
the
here
begin-
too.
right,
Yeah.
for the
so we
begin-
hear that
that's
from
his
you all as
concern.
well.
And it's a legitimate concern. But we are not going to be bumping up the starting salary beyond the help they already get from the statute that is in place, unconstitutionally as it is, that they get a higher raise than everyone else. So, if they're highly effective. I do not see the point of compressing the salary even further by adding an additional 2,000 to the opening.
Okay, so we understand you rejected that. Again,
So that's out.
that was a priority of the superintendent and the board. You rejected that. You had other questions? Let's go to those.
the actual, in the discussion that I had with the superintendent, he really wanted to see the referendum removed from the salary schedule. That was really his full preference.
Okay, well, we had conversations with him as well. We understand you're rejecting that, so what other questions did you have?
I would like it to be explained on C, letter C. Is that what we negotiated last year,
Yes,
or is that new?
no,
No,
that's
that's-
what we negotiated.
Amount is being paid this year and next year from the ARP funds.
So it is not a raise.
It's a
It
total
was a
comp,
raise last year.
no,
But
it's
it
a raise
is-
this year,
it
it's
is-
payable this year. And next year, so it's part of the total compensation package.
But this is not 2 additional days beyond what we agreed to last year.
That is correct.
Also, we had discussed a few times that we will only, this year, we will only be looking at the supplements for the advanced and professional degrees, because all of the supplements in Pinellas were woefully under our surrounding neighbors. And so we were working very diligently on raising the academic, athletic, and fine arts supplements because they were really far below everyone else. And we've been doing that. We've done a great job. They are basically up there. They are capped about the same spot. They are equal. If not equal, they are absolutely in the ballpark. So what we talked about last year when we made the increase to those academic, athletic, and fine arts supplements of 3.25, we said that should bring us up to a nice point where now we can turn to professional supplements, which have not been raised for 20 some odd years. And are again below our neighbors. So we think now it's time to lift those up little by little until they get in that spot. We recommend doing alternating each year, 1 year looking at the academic, athletic, and fine arts, see where they're at, are they lagging, and then looking at the professional. The professional have not been touched for at least 20 years.
24.
The only thing that we did with professional supplements was made sure the psychologist got the one they needed to have. These SLPs, the psychologists and the social workers then followed the next year. We got a professional supplement for them. But the masters, those have not been touched in years. So the focus needs to be on those this year so that we can start that job. That's going to be an ongoing job as well, just like the other ones were. And like I said, I think we should alternate years so that none of them are falling behind.
So that's
So I'm
your,
gonna, yeah,
sorry.
so let me clarify a couple things that were stated. And so I heard you say at the very end right there, Nancy, you said that you would recommend that. At the beginning, you said that it was agreed upon last year that we would alternate. That is no recollection of mine. In the supplement committee meeting that we had that discussion that it would be alternated between the two. I'm not gonna sit here and say, whatever, but that was not discussed. And we do have a supplement committee that does meet. We usually like to wait until we're further along in this process to know if there's anything to be discussed in the supplement committee. I would not want to speak to let me turn that around. I would like to allow the arts, the athletics, the academics, supervisors who oversee those areas to have a discussion on this as well and to share their input, because statements of you think we are equal, if not in the ballpark. There are hundreds of supplements and I'm not sure each one are in the ballpark because they have been reviewing those in preparation to meet. So I don't know if you've done your own research on that, on all hundreds of the supplements for all athletics and so forth. There are new, obviously, and you will say, yes, we have like bowling, we need to add that to our supplement, that has not been included. And so there are those little tweaks that have to be addressed, so I don't want anybody listening to think that we would not be making adjustments that need to be made to those.
Right.
So,
What we,
but again, I do want to reiterate that I was not part of any discussions that talked about going.
okay, I want to go back and forth on that because it absolutely happened and.
Well, that's fine, and
that's
you
it.
had said,
But
so
we-
I'm going
all
to
we
say my
talked-
statement
all-
here.
All we talked about, the academic, athletic and fine arts was that the new sports coming on, we did have that conversation. The new ones that were going to be started this year, then yes, obviously they need to have a
Well,
supplement.
okay, so that's why I
That
wanted everybody to
That
hear.
was
because
part of the conversation that we had when we were talking about
That's fine.
what most of the attention this upcoming year needs to be paid to the professional supplements, and I said it repeatedly at that supplement meeting.
Okay.
And you also told me at that time, when I asked about the supplements, that the professional supplements, that could not be discussed in a supplement meeting. That it had to be discussed at the bargaining table.
Correct, right? So, well, not correct, but yes, I do remember that discussion, and because the supplement committee had been meeting and we collapsed those 78 pages, right, to a more readable document.
22.
Right, yeah, 22. Yeah, and it's down to like 9 or 10, right, I think. The advanced degree supplements are part of the salary, right, and so it should be discussed here, so yes, we're in the proper. Form, thank you, couldn't think of the word, to have those discussions, but I don't want to. Not listen to the constituents of the athletics, academics, and arts supplements either, so that's what I'm just saying right now. Which is why we have in here
It just
and or.
It just seems confusing because it looks like it's one pot of money.
It is.
Well,
one
it
of
is.
them. It is. It is. It is.
And
Correct.
it also seems odd to me that since it was all of us together quite a few years ago deciding this had to be done. That once we have reached a certain level. And I don't know how to explain this, why the professional supplements don't seem to be of any concern to anyone, because there is no group. There is no constituent on that side. You have the head of the
I'm
athletics,
not
the
saying
head
that
of
it's
the
not a
arts,
priority,
the
I'm
head.
just telling you, getting
These
it
are
out
your,
on.
these are your
on the-
employees, and
I
it's part of
agree.
their salary that's been lagging for years.
I hear you, and I recognize that this is a request of the group. We have it in here. I just think before a final decision is made, we have to listen to all people involved. That's all I'm saying.
And so we're gonna need the data on how many people have advanced degrees and what degree they have, a cost out on that. And we will also want, I would like to know the costs of all electronic programs that are being used or contracted in the classrooms. And how long the contract is.
Can you clarify that?
All, I don't use them, so I don't know the names of them, but I'm sure that whoever purchased those.
I'm not clear on this.
Can you repeat your request again?
So.
Or
if I
clarify?
may,
Yes,
Okay.
Canvas is the only one off the top of my head, I know because that was being used after I left.
So it's
For COVID.
basically requesting the cost of each of the programs that's
So
accessible.
any
via
academic computer program or it's systems that are accessible by cloud.
Well, if the district is paying for them to be on Clever, then that it would be, if it's a free app, it's a free app. But if it's a program purchased by the district,
I'm trying to boil down what.
Like, IXL, that. Well, I guess,
My station.
and I will say. Right, if it's a program, like even if it's Office
Sorry,
365, and it's accessible to every student, how much is the district paying for that program to be on Clever for students and staff to access.
Could we just get a breakdown of all contracts within the general fund?
Yeah, including synergistics.
Doesn't I don't necessarily have to see a copy of every contract, but just could we get that broken down? Because what,
I don't know if it's any practical, easy way to do that. I can ask, but I'll.
okay, because if we looked at like purchase services, some of those contracts are gonna fall under purchase services, whereas some of them could potentially fall under, materials and supplies. I don't know. I don't know. You could also have some, that if they have to do with, the operations of the sites, that could potentially come under, facilities. I don't know, but they all have an impact on what we're working with. And I think that there are programs in a number of places that raise concerns about cost and efficiency. So I think that having some, I can't remember right offhand what we requested in that vein, but if we could see that.
And, right, because, and I know you said there was a new reading program that none of the reading teachers are pleased with, and the
Students
principal,
are already cheating, they just look it up on the phone, and it's horrible. I
and
don't know who,
you don't know the name of the program.
I can find it.
It's at the high school level, obviously, it's for all reading teachers. That
Yeah,
Lexia.
Lexia, that's it.
Lexia, because that one is brand new, and I don't know how much that costs. Thanks, that's, because I know that we've gotten tons of complaints about that one. Because this impacts not only the costs of these things, but the whole movement towards shared leadership in our schools that I know Kevin is interested in. And we've said for years that these programs need to be piloted, legitimately piloted, and then the teachers need to have a say on whether they're worth purchasing or not. Because most of the time, these programs get dumped into the classrooms and they are simply awful, unusable. They certainly, even the best of the electronic programs aren't going to replace the flesh and blood teacher, but they can be used as tools and definitely help in the classroom. Some of them are so bad that they're not even useful as a tool in the classroom. That to me is wasteful spending and disrespectful to the teachers because they weren't even asked for their opinion. The teachers will know best if this will be helpful in a classroom. The reading teachers will know what they're looking for reading. The math teachers will know what they're looking for math. The elementary school teachers will know what they're looking for to help their little ones. That's their job. That's their specialty.
Can I just get some clarification? And maybe you need to put this in writing because your request is so vague right now. I understand conceptually what you're looking for, but we have contracts all over the district. You want items that have already been purchased? That's not helpful to this discussion. So what exactly are you looking for?
Well, so I
And you need
don't
to
think
be
just
more
because it's
specific
large,
than every contract that we have.
just because it's large doesn't necessarily mean it's vague. So
Yeah.
it's large.
And it's broad.
It's broad, but that doesn't mean that it's not germane to the discussion.
Well,
we're
then
having.
try to identify exactly what we need to find for you, because you said we want all contracts.
And I clarified that we don't necessarily need to see the contract.
Right.
But a list of contracted, so we should have this available through, I mean, I'm not saying that it's in one document that exists right now, but
It's not.
but a list of all the contracts, but not through purchasing, I would think through purchasing, I mean, all these contracts have to be approved.
And
right?
tell me how
No.
contracts that have already been purchased or
If there are
I've already
contracts
been
below there are contracts below the board threshold, that's not being able to the out there, so I think we're pretty good. But if you could just, I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult, just put it in writing and send to us what it is you're looking for, and then see if it's a practical way to get it.
Okay, some of them we've already requested and it would be in an information request that we already put in, but I think that having, just a item by item, what this company is, what they provide, how much our contract is with them. maybe the length, maybe the duration of the contract. And the reason that that is germane here is because even if it's something that's already been purchased, as we've discussed here in previous sessions, what the district pays for is indicative of priorities in practice. And even if something has already been purchased, it could still indicate an expenditure that doesn't benefit the students in the same way, even close to the same way, as keeping an experienced teacher in the classroom. And that's what our proposal is about, is, and this, what this process is about, is valuing our educators to the extent that they, in the face of these inflationary pressures that you outlined in this, in your MOU, we have to work harder to keep them. So even transactions that have taken place, practices that have been in place, impact the process that we're in now.
So if we have a contractual obligation to pay something, and well, I'm trying to figure out how this is germane, to use your language, to this discussion, paying salaries for 22-23, if we already have a contractual obligation for this particular program.
Well,
Is your
indicative
suggestion
of-
we cancel a certain program?
if it's doable, and if there are contracts that are, if you're able to break the contract, that could be a consideration. If it's a contract that is not able to be broken, this is a conversation that's absolutely going to be needed for the future, because there are going to be negotiations in the future, and you're still going to be having issues with teachers. So if we have the information now and we see that this contract is ending prior to next year, or after next year, that would be a discussion that should be had so that we make the right decisions and have enough money available for next year's negotiation. Because just having a substantial raise this year isn't going to keep people in Pinellas forever, since Pinellas so far is the slowest to come down. The housing market is coming down all around us, including in Pasco, where they just received 5.4% average raise. And they're getting a referendum next year. And I believe the Superintendent Browning's comment was, I'm going to steal all the teachers from all the neighboring counties. And I so wanted that to be us. When I heard him say that, it just bugged me, because I really, really wanted that to be Pinellas, to be able to say, everyone's going to want to come here now. But he's doing it. And they are, because it's cheaper to live in Pasco. They're going to get a hefty raise this year, and they're going to get the referendum next year. And so, yeah, I do look at things that are happening for next year as well, because I don't want to always be sitting in this position and saying, well, we can't do that now because we should have done that last year. So I would like to know, and if we can get the names from all the teachers, I can put out to get the names of specific electronic programs. But I would think that anything that's been purchased to be used electronically in a classroom should be known to someone about all of them. And the extra curiosity was synergistic to know how much that costs.
Synergistic, clear off the top of my head.
What?
Synergistic, I think I can tell you off the top of my head. I think it's about a $700,000 or $800,000 contract. Before it was a performance contract where they had a portion of what they saved us. So we reduced it, and I don't get an exact amount, but then someone.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for someone to just be controlling your air from somewhere else.
It saved us. But it helped us.
They don't save you. You're the people who are doing the work in the buildings and taking care of those air conditioners and making them run efficiently. They are saving you money. Synergistic is just charging you money to do something that your own people can do easily.
Question, with the health insurance, I see that this is a movement in your proposal from the school board paying 75% of the increase to healthcare premiums, to 100%. I heard the figure 3.5 million. Is that for all of the units, or is that just for instructional?
Yes, instruction.
So that movement, or that 100% has a value of 3.5 million?
Correct.
Okay. So previously, the proposal, 75% was three,
A little, around 2 million and change, 2.5.
2.5?
No, it's like one.
Yeah, it's more than that.
It was like 3.1.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that seems to be pretty straightforward math. I should be able to do it off the top of my head.
Mixing one the other.
2.6. Okay, thank you.
And I know that last year, I guess there's there probably isn't right numbers. Last year, you estimated the cost of what it would do, what it would cost to add the two additional paid days of planning and the 4 for ESE. You had estimated the cost that you thought it would be. Was it more, less, or exact, or did it come in around what you expected?
It was only a half a year last year, I think. So.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty close to what we projected.
But I mean, obviously. So you projected, because I do know there were quite a few people who didn't take advantage of that. So I was wondering if it came in under.
I don't believe that it did. It wasn't really difficult to take advantage of it. Fill out a form or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty basic. I don't understand why some people did not participate.
I would think the numbers are good.
And so, and I certainly don't recommend that to my members. They should be participating in this because it is
An easy thing.
it does add another percentage point approximately to your salary. And the form is not overly complicated in any way.
Can I ask one more question? And I don't mean to be hopping around, but I just wanted to go back to understand when there was the proposed starting salary of 52, which we defined based on the fact that the minimum required salary was 50, 41, 50. Were you looking at that proposed starting salary as being completely separate from the proportion that we're bound by state law to pay in terms of the increase? So, for example, I would think that the proposed starting salary would have to fall between 50 and 75% of highly effective. But you're reading it as that's separate from that requirement?
Yeah, that's what we're reading it as, and that was the proposal.
Okay.
Rejected that.
Right, but I'm trying to understand because we couldn't understand why it was represented that way. Because if the minimum required salary is 50, and then you got this proposed starting salary, the reason that you proposed a starting salary to be 500-ish, no, 1,500, more than what the minimum was because you view that as, because I would think if you're at 50, 41, that if you were to raise that to 5,200, you're also raising all of the other, whether it's raising the grandfather's amount, performance highly effective, performance effective, COLA. But you're saying that you're reading that as being separate, that the starting salary is an entirely different proposal that is not subject to the algorithm that is established by the state or by the proportions established by the state.
Well, before
that right?
right before, and that's what the way it appears, and before the delightful salary laws took hold of this conversation, that was always something that would be presented. It would usually be presented in the schedule, though, when they would present a schedule with a certain percentage, they would definitely up the first the salary a little bit more. And it was turned down every time. Or not completely turned down, we would negotiate it and bring it down, but it was done that way. It was just always right in the schedule. That's why it was just a little bizarre, the way it was just sitting out here, because this isn't looking at a schedule. So I get why it was sitting there, but it is not doing the job. And I know the concern is that we don't meet the state requirement. That's the concern for the opening salary without our referendum. But that is not a concern that should be corrected from everybody, taking it away from everybody else. If you're gonna throw another 2,000 or 1,500 on the front, it would have to go all the way through the
So
schedule.
you rejected that proposal, so we're good with that.
If it's
Yeah,
just
we
for that,
understand
if
it's
it's just
just
there,
Yeah.
then yes. Then yes. If it's not for everybody, it's not.
So I guess at this point, you want more information to cost out, so we understand that. If you could be more specific, that would be helpful. Otherwise, probably most of these are through teaching and learning,
Right.
and we can,
Well, yes, I would imagine that's a good place to get them from. I can even ask Rita to, she's working with teaching and learning still, right?
Yes, but it would be Dr. Evans or teaching.
Well, yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean,
with him.
she's probably really familiar with everything they've purchased in the last few years.
Is there a time on this issue, like canceling contracts? Is there a 30 days? that
So
we can cancel?
every contract is different and the contract guides what we're able to do. And I just want to, again, Dr. Evans is coming back on board, right, from being out for a couple of years, but, he is very well versed in all of this, and Mr. Hendrick is the one who was leading teaching and learning, and he was guiding the, the decisions being made, and I hope you all know Mr. Hendrick as well as anyone that it's not simply him sitting there making these decisions, and I would venture to say, and I'm almost hesitant because I don't know this 100%, but I would go 99% sure that these decisions are not made by a single person. They are vetted through teachers who actually will utilize that and employees in our district who utilize that before any purchase is made. But I'm going to ask that for that feedback as well. And we will get you that information. I would love if, again, as Lori said, if you can give us any more specific even examples or whatever, and yes, everything does go through purchasing. I hear what you're saying, but it is a couple of things I was hearing is a little all over the place, not necessarily teaching and learning only. There are other things out there that might touch, and I don't want to miss anything, but so.
Center distance, there could be other contracts.
So, right, they're the
That's
only
not
outlier.
in teaching.
They're
and
the only
learning,
outlier.
so,
Everything
yeah.
else that we're interested in
I mean,
is,
yeah, it's paid out of the general fund.
yeah,
Okay,
and
so
that's-
general-
they're an outlier, but the ones that we were really looking at are the ones.
So as a reminder,
Education.
one of the largest payments paid out of the general operating fund in the O3 object is purchase services, as far as the payments, so that's like $50 million. So, if you want to see those contracts, then
Well, yeah, I mean, that, I don't know that we can view that as downward practice
If
of
you're
the board
giving
approval
a-
rather
if you're giving a
versus.
request like that, that's, so the more you now.
Well, that's okay. Knowing the amount of it is actually really helpful. Like I said, we don't necessarily have to have the contracts themselves. Just,
So it's also in there, another $8 million property tax.
mm,
$60 million,
property cash.
probably.
So we have some work that we need to do. I don't know, if we are wanting to schedule another session at this moment. I don't know if you want to get the information prior to our next session. I think you're gonna want that information before, so you can have it, and I cannot tell you how long this will take. I'm not going to take months, but I don't know if it's available tomorrow to push a
Right.
button and do that.
that makes
There is no button to push it, and there are no people really on this side, so it's a manual process that we're gonna have to do. I'm just wanting to be, just let everybody know,
Okay.
so we can do that.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea then to, let's get an idea of how long
Okay,
this is gonna take and then try to set a date as soon as it's, after we've received it and had a little chance to look it over. I do know luckily that both the new superintendent and our new teaching and learning people are very negative on electronic programs, especially in the new teaching environment. He specifically took me aside at board meeting to tell me that he agreed with that point that I made in the speech, that he thought it is high time that we lessen how much screen time our kids are doing when they have perfectly good teachers in the room. So I do see teaching and learning maybe not putting as much value on those programs as they had under the previous superintendent. We can hope.
Okay, we will get you that information and then we can be in touch for the time or date.
Okay. That'd be great. Oh, and I just saw,
Thank you for your answer.
yes, I do appreciate that. I just saw the email you sent on Friday, Paula. But you sent it to my PCSB.
All right,
I checked it. I happened to see it today because I was looking for something else. And that's because I had asked for those dates and there were dates in there. Are you not setting the dates for the PD advisory?
I'm not in charge of the PD advisory committee. No, Jolene Jackson is.
Okay, so Jolene will set
I've never
those
done-
dates. You were just doing data working group and appraisal,
Correct.
those dates, because I just saw them.
Okay,
And, all right, and I just want to let you know I wasn't ignoring
I'm
that.
sorry
I just
about that.
Found
I
them, I
apologize.
found them today. But because I was thinking, why is she sending me the date? What is it?